In the heart of a peaceful land called Carusa, where golden grass danced with the wind and tall palm trees touched the sky, lived a girl named Leina. Her name meant the morning sun, and many said she was as beautiful as the first light of dawn. Leina was not just beautiful. She was breathtaking. Her skin was smooth like polished bronze, and her eyes glowed like warm honey in the sun. Her voice was soft and calming, like the river that ran behind the village. Her smile could make even the grumpiest elder pause and forget their anger. Men came from faraway villages just to catch a glimpse of her. Women whispered about her elegance and grace, saying, "She must be touched by the gods." Even children would stop playing to stare in awe when she passed by. The elders said they had never seen beauty like hers in all their years. But Leina wasn't proud or boastful. She didn't seek attention. She spent her days helping her grandmother fetch water from the stream, or selling palm oil in the market with a quiet smile. She avoided the crowds. She walked with her head down and barely spoke to men. Still, no one could ignore her. Suitors lined up to ask for her hand. Some offered cows. Others offered land. One even promised her a gold necklace brought all the way from across the desert. But Leina turned them all down. The village was puzzled. Some laughed and said, "She is just waiting for a rich prince." Others whispered darker things. "Maybe she is cursed," they said. "Or maybe she hides something we cannot see." Leina heard these whispers. She didn't respond. But inside, her heart ached. She remembered the first man who had truly looked at her with desire. His name was Teban. He was a kind farmer who lived near her grandmother's house. Teban had strong arms, gentle eyes, and a voice that made her laugh. One evening, he brought her a basket of mangoes and asked if he could walk with her. Leina hesitated. Something inside her warned her to say no. But Teban had never treated her like an object. He listened when she spoke. So, she agreed. That night, they sat by the river and talked about dreams, about family, and about how beautiful the stars looked when the world was quiet. 3 days later, Teban fell sick. His mother said it started with weakness in his legs. Then, he couldn't breathe well. By the 4th day, he was gone. Just like that. The village mourned his death. They said it was bad luck. Maybe something in the food. Maybe a strange illness from the forest. But Leina knew the truth. Because Teban was not the only one. 3 more men followed him over the months, each one showing her love, each one dying days after. Leina grew more afraid. She no longer smiled at anyone. She stayed away from the market. She even refused to look people in the eyes. The village began to notice. "She is hiding something," they whispered. "Something is not right with that girl." But no one dared to ask her directly. Not yet. After Teban's death, silence followed Leina like a shadow. She tried to return to her normal life, helping her grandmother, gathering herbs from the forest, but the whispers never stopped. People stared now, not in admiration, but in fear. When Kola, the young blacksmith, fell for her, everyone in the village saw it coming. He was brave and handsome, full of jokes and laughter. Kola wasn't afraid of the rumors. "I don't believe in curses," he told his friends. "I believe in what I see, and what I see is the most beautiful girl in all of Carusa." He approached Leina with flowers and kind words. He sat beside her at the river and made her laugh. Slowly, her guard dropped. For a moment, she let herself believe maybe this time, it would be different. But 5 days later, Kola collapsed in his workshop. He never stood again. Now, the whispers turned to gasps. Mothers told their sons to stay away. Fathers crossed themselves when Leina passed. Children who once waved now hid behind their mothers' wrappers. Still, the men kept coming. They thought they could be the one to survive her love. Elder Aboja, a respected man in his 60s, became the next to fall under her spell. He said her beauty reminded him of his late wife. "It's not lust," he argued. "It's admiration." He gave her gifts, fine beads, scented oils, and even a carved wooden flute. He only wanted her company, he said. But a week later, Aboja fell asleep under a tree and never woke again. Now the villagers were scared. 3 men, gone. All had courted Leina. All had died within days. Even Yarrow, the village herbalist, who prided himself on knowing every root and leaf that could fight death, tried his luck. He claimed he could protect himself with charms and sacred teas. But charm or no charm, Yarrow didn't last a week. The village grew cold toward Leina. When she walked through the market, the traders looked away. No one greeted her anymore. People moved their children away from her path. And yet, none of them confronted her. Fear kept them quiet. Leina couldn't bear it anymore. She stayed in her hut for days. She cried until her throat was dry. She asked the gods, "Why me? Why give me beauty if it only brings death?" Her grandmother tried to comfort her. "My child," she said, "this beauty is not your fault. But perhaps, the answer lies with the old ways." So, Leina wrapped herself in a simple cloth, tied her hair back, and walked barefoot up the hill to the sacred grove, where the wise woman Momoroji lived. Momoroji was older than anyone in the village remembered. Some said she could talk to spirits. Others claimed she knew the stories that the earth whispered at night. Leina knelt before her, tears running down her cheeks. "Please," she begged. "I don't know what I did wrong. Men come close to me, and then they die." Momoroji studied her, eyes sharp and knowing. "This is no ordinary misfortune," she said. "You carry a mark on your spirit." Leina's heart froze. "What kind of mark?" "One that was planted before you were born," Momoroji said. "A curse, woven into your bloodline." Leina gasped, trembling. "But why?" she whispered. Momoroji leaned in, her voice like wind in the trees. "Because someone, long ago, made a deal with the spirits. And now, you are paying the price." Leina sat in stunned silence as Momoroji stirred a bowl of smoking herbs before her. The air inside the sacred hut was thick, heavy with the scent of ancient wood and secrets. A single candle flickered beside a carved wooden statue of the moon goddess. "A curse," Leina whispered, as if saying the word too loud would make it stronger. Momoroji nodded. "Yes, child. Not a curse you brought on yourself, but one you carry because of a choice made before you ever took your first breath." Leina's hands trembled in her lap. Who made that choice?" The old woman looked into the fire pit, her voice dropping low. "Your mother." Leina's eyes widened. "My mother. But she died when I was 5. She was kind. Gentle. Why would she curse me?" Momoroji sighed deeply, then reached for a small gourd beside her. She opened it and sprinkled ash into the fire. Flames leapt up, and in the glow, Leina saw shapes, dancing, swirling shadows that looked like women with glowing eyes and long flowing hair. "She wasn't trying to curse you," Momoroji said. "She was trying to protect you." The old woman began to chant softly in a forgotten tongue. Then she explained, "Years ago, your mother was poor and mocked by the villagers. No one wanted her hand in marriage. They called her plain, unworthy. So she went deep into the forest, to the river of secrets, and made a dangerous bargain with a spirit." Momoroji's voice grew quieter. She begged for a child who would be so beautiful that no one could ever ignore her. A daughter who would be loved and admired by all. But the spirit asked for something in return. "What?" Leina whispered. "The ability to twist that beauty into a test that most would fail," Momoroji said. "Your beauty was the gift. But any man who sought you with impure desires, who came only for your flesh, would pay with his life. Lena covered her mouth, tears welling in her eyes. So, all those men, Tebon, Kola, Elder Aboja, they died because they didn't truly love me. They desired you, Mama Roji said. But they did not respect you. They saw your face, your body, but not your soul. Lena stared at the flickering fire, her heart aching with the weight of it all. Am I to live alone forever? She asked. Is there no way to undo this curse? Mama Roji studied her for a long moment, then reached for a dried leaf and held it over the flame. It curled and twisted into smoke, then vanished. There may be a way, she said slowly. But the path is not easy. Tell me, Lena said, her voice firm for the first time. Even if it is dangerous. I want to be free. Mama Roji nodded. The curse can only be broken by a man who sees you not with the eyes of the body, but with the eyes of the heart. A man who loves you fully, without touching you first. A man who would rather die than use you. Lena felt the fire of hope light up inside her chest. Such a man, Mama Roji added, must also walk with you to the lake of lost spirits. Only there can the bond be broken. But what if I never find him? Lena asked. Then you must wait, Mama Roji said softly. And guard your heart like gold. The wrong touch will still bring death. But the right love may bring life. The rains had come to Korusa, washing the dust off rooftops and painting the village green again. But Lena's heart was still clouded. She stayed hidden most days, avoiding people, afraid of their looks, some filled with fear, others with blame. The only one who still spoke kindly to her was her grandmother, who would hum softly and place warm food by her door. But Lena barely ate. She was tired. Tired of being feared, of carrying a beauty that killed, of waiting for a love that may never come. Then, one quiet morning, something changed. A stranger arrived in the village. He came not with drums or dancers like the suitors before him. He wore simple clothes, carried a walking stick, and had kind, tired eyes. His name was Nduka, and he was a traveler and healer from the north. He had heard that Korusa needed someone to help with a strange sickness affecting some of the older villagers. The elders welcomed him. They didn't care for beauty, they cared for health. He set up a small tent near the market square. Every morning, people came to him with coughs, rashes, fevers. And with gentle hands and careful words, Nduka treated them all. Lena watched him from afar. She didn't know why, but something about him felt different. He never looked at women with hunger in his eyes. He didn't boast or show off. He listened more than he spoke. One afternoon, Lena dropped her water pot by accident near the river. The clay cracked. Water spilled onto her feet. She knelt and sighed, ready to cry, but then, a voice behind her spoke. Don't worry. It's just a pot. You're still whole. She turned slowly. It was Nduka. Lena stood quickly, brushing her skirt. I can carry my own troubles, she said, guarded. I believe you, Nduka replied. But sometimes, even the strong deserve rest. He didn't stare at her beauty. He didn't flirt or ask her name. He simply nodded and walked away. It was the first time in years a man had looked at her and seen something else. The next day, he greeted her again. Then again the next. Just a small nod, a smile, a kind word. Nothing more. Slowly, Lena allowed herself to speak to him. About the weather. About healing herbs. About life before the curse. And Nduka never once tried to touch her. One evening, they sat beneath a baobab tree as the sky turned golden. You don't look at me like the others, she said softly. I've seen beauty fade, Nduka answered. But a kind soul shines forever. Lena's throat tightened. You don't know what I carry, she said. My beauty is dangerous. I believe beauty only harms when it is used as a weapon, Enduka said. You seem like a prisoner in your own skin. Her eyes welled up. She wanted to tell him everything, but fear held her back. That night, she had a dream. In it, Enduka touched her hand, and fell dead like the others. She woke up in a cold sweat. The next morning, she avoided him. But Enduka came to her door with a bundle of herbs and a quiet voice. You don't have to speak, he said. But I'll be near if you need me. And just like that, he left. Lena stood at the doorway, watching him walk away. Her heart was confused, but in that confusion, something bloomed. It was not desire. It was hope. Days passed, and Lena found herself looking forward to Enduka's quiet presence more and more. He never pressed her, never asked questions she wasn't ready to answer. He simply made her feel human. Not a curse. Not a danger. Just a woman, worthy of being seen beyond the shape of her face. But fear still lived inside her chest. The memory of the others, Tebon, Kola, Elder Aboja, was like a shadow on her shoulder. Every time Enduka smiled at her, a part of her heart lit up, and another part clenched in terror. What if he dies too, she thought again and again. One evening, as a light breeze danced through the palm trees, Lena sat by the riverbank alone, her feet dipped in the cool water. She didn't notice Enduka approaching until he sat beside her. I had a dream, he said quietly. She turned, surprised. In the dream, he continued, you were walking into fire, and I tried to follow, but something pulled me back. I couldn't reach you. Lena looked away, her voice shaky. Maybe the fire was saving you. Or maybe, he said gently, the fire was waiting to be tamed. She turned to face him, eyes full of pain. You don't understand. You don't know what happens to men who come close to me. I think I do, Enduka said. I've heard the stories. Her breath caught in her throat. He nodded. The market women talk. The old men whisper. I listen more than I speak, Lena. I know about the deaths. And I know they came to you not for love, but for possession. Tears filled her eyes. And what about you? Why are you here? Enduka looked into her trembling gaze. Because I see you. Not just your face. I see the weight you carry. The strength behind your silence. The pain behind your smile. She wept then, not out of sorrow, but out of a strange, warm ache she had never felt before. A feeling that maybe, just maybe, someone truly understood her. Wiping her tears, she said, Mama Roji told me something. That the curse could be broken, but only with true love. And only if the man walks with me to the lake of lost spirits. Enduka didn't flinch. Then let's go. Lena froze. You don't even know what lies there. I know what lies here, he said. A woman trapped in fear. A love that can't bloom. If the lake offers a chance, even the smallest chance, then I will walk beside you. Her heart raced. It could kill you. And staying here without trying, could kill both of us slowly, Enduka whispered. They agreed to leave at first light. The journey was long. They crossed old forest trails, climbed rocky paths, and slept under trees. Wild animals watched from the shadows, but none came close. Perhaps even the spirits knew they were walking toward destiny. Each night, Enduka kept his distance, sleeping with his back to the fire. He never once reached for her, never let desire lead him. And with each day, Lena's heart softened, then opened. She told him everything, about her mother's curse, the deaths, the guilt. And Enduka never judged her. By the seventh day, they stood before the lake of lost spirits. It was silent. Still. The water shimmered like glass under the moonlight. Lena's feet touched the edge. A voice rose from the lake, soft but sharp like the wind. Lena, you have come. But are you ready to lose your beauty, to gain your freedom? She turned to Enduka. He simply smiled. I never loved your beauty, he said. I loved the girl behind it. The moon hung low, casting silver light across the lake of lost spirits. The water didn't ripple. Not even the wind dared to move. It felt as if the entire world was holding its breath, waiting. Lena stepped forward, her bare feet sinking slightly into the wet sand. The voice from the lake came again, this time stronger. You were given beauty not to bless, but to test. The men failed. But now, your heart has brought you here. Are you ready? Enduka stood behind her, calm, silent, his presence a quiet strength. I'm ready, Lena said, though her voice trembled. A cold mist rose from the lake and circled her feet, climbing slowly up her legs, her waist, her chest. She gasped as it wrapped around her like invisible ropes. Then choose, the voice said. Keep your beauty, and he will die like the rest. Or give it up, and he shall live. You will be plain and unseen, unpraised. A forgotten face in the crowd. Lena felt her heart pound. Her beauty had been her curse. But it had also been her identity. She didn't know life without it. What would remain of her, if it was taken? Then she turned to look at Enduka. He was watching her, not with fear, not with desire, but with love. Real love. The kind that sees through flesh and bone. She took a deep breath. I give it up, she said. Let him live. Let him live free. The mist thickened, pulling her into the cold water. Enduka took a step forward. Lena. The voice boomed, echoing like thunder. He must not touch her. Not until the trial is complete. Enduka froze. Lena sank knee-deep, waist-deep, then chest-deep into the water. Her heart pounded like a drum. Her skin burned cold. Her body felt heavy, as if every memory, every pain, was being stripped from her. Suddenly, the lake began to glow, golden and fierce. The mist around her burst into sparks and disappeared into the stars. And then... silence. Lena floated motionless, eyes closed, her hair spread around her like seaweed. Enduka's heart clenched. Lena, he called again. No answer. Then, slowly, she stood up. She stepped out of the lake, barefoot, wet, her dress clinging to her body. Her skin was still smooth, but her glow had faded. Her beauty had softened. She was no longer the vision that turned heads in every market. But something else shone brighter. Peace. She looked at Enduka, afraid. Do I still look like me? She asked. Enduka stepped forward and smiled. You look like the woman I love. She broke down in tears. He pulled her into a warm embrace, the first touch, the one they had both feared. And nothing happened. No wind. No curse. No death. Only warmth. The spirit's voice returned one final time. The curse is broken. Love that asks for nothing, receives everything. Lena and Enduka sat by the lake that night, side by side, wrapped in one cloak. They didn't speak much. They didn't need to. The silence said enough. She had lost the beauty that once killed, but gained a love that gave life. And in that moment, Lena realized, it was never her beauty that made her powerful. It was her heart. The journey back to Carissa felt lighter than the journey out. Lena and Enduka walked hand in hand through forests that once whispered warnings but now sang gentle songs through the rustling trees. Birds followed them, as if sensing something had changed. The wind no longer pushed against Lena, it carried her forward, as though it, too, had been waiting for her freedom. By the time they reached the village gates, the sun was rising. The villagers stared in disbelief. Some rubbed their eyes. Others stepped back, cautious. Lena was no longer the dazzling beauty who turned heads with every step. But there was something even more powerful in the way she held herself now, calm, open, free. And at her side stood a man who had loved her without ever touching her. A man who had walked with her through fear and fire and never once let go. Mama Roji appeared at the edge of the crowd, her eyes shining with pride. "The curse has lifted," she declared. "What was once heavy is now light. What was once feared is now blessed." Some villagers wept. Others bowed their heads in shame. One by one, they came forward, not with offerings, but with apologies. "We judged what we didn't understand," one woman said. "We feared your beauty because we didn't see your pain," said another. Lena forgave them all. She was no longer a prisoner to her past. She didn't need their approval, but she welcomed their healing words all the same. In the days that followed, the village transformed. Enduka stayed and opened a healing center with Lena at his side. Together, they treated the sick, taught the young, and offered comfort to those carrying invisible wounds. Lena began speaking to the girls of the village. She gathered them under the great baobab tree and shared her story, not to scare them, but to teach them. "Your worth is not in your face," she told them, "but in your choices, your spirit, your kindness." The girls listened closely. Some cried. Some clapped. All learned. The tale of Lena and the cursed beauty became legend, not of a woman who brought death, but of a woman who survived it. Mothers told it to their daughters. Fathers told it to their sons. "Love is not what sees the skin," they would say. "It is what touches the soul." As for Lena and Enduka, they never needed a wedding. The whole village knew their hearts were already tied together. They lived in a small clay house by the river, the same river where she once cried in silence. Now she laughed there with Enduka, washed herbs in its cool waters, and watched the sunrise with hope in her chest. Many seasons passed. Their love only grew stronger with time, not loud or boastful, but steady and quiet, like a tree whose roots reach deep beneath the earth. And long after they had both grown old, their story lived on. Children in Korusa would gather around fires and say, "Once, there was a woman so beautiful, her face stopped hearts. But it was her soul that truly changed the world." And in that story, they would remember that true love does not take. It gives. It heals. And it sets you free.